My name is David Kenny, I'm based here at Grange. We're covering two topics that I think you'll all agree are essentially important to the profitability of any suckler enterprise. I'm firstly going to cover reproductive performance and reproductive efficiency of beef cows. I suppose as a start, for any enterprise, we need to set targets that we want to try to achieve. And here we have some targets summarised, some key targets from the national data, as well as some how our own herds here in Grange are performing relative to those. And if we look at three key traits for any suckler herd, the calving interval, our target would be that cows on average should calve every 365 days. In other words, a calf per cow per year. When we look at nationally at Irish herds, on average the Irish herd would say the typical Irish herd is calving about 6 weeks beyond that at about 400 days. So that's obviously costing farmers, we'll say, in the region of about $2.20 per cow, or about €100 for the average cow. That doesn't meet that target. If we look at our maternal herd here in Grange, at the moment, over the last 2 years, that herd is achieving a calving interval, we'll say, of short of 360 days. Okay, so it can be achieved, but again, good management is required. A second extremely important target is that every cow should produce a calf every year. Obviously, that's the only output from a suckler cow. Nationally in Ireland, we'll say only about 80% of cows are achieving that. So 20% of cows are not producing a calf every 365 days, and obviously that's costing money. And we have estimated that's costing, we'll say, about €170 per cow in the herd. Here at the maternal herd in Grange, on average, about over 9 out of every 10 cows, we'll say, are producing a calf within a 365-day interval. And our final target here, we'll say, is, and a key one, is that heifers should calve at 24 months of age or 2 years of age. Okay, anything beyond that is costing the farmer money. Again, in terms of money, we have estimated in the region of about €1.60 per heifer per day beyond calving at 2 years of age, and again, mostly in feed costs. When we look at our national figures here, on average, instead of 24 months of age, Irish heifers on average are calving, beyond 30 months of age, in fact, about 32 months of age. The maternal herd here in Grange, would say, is achieving their heifers on average calving down at 24 months of age. Again, it can be done. And international studies would show that heifers that calve at 2 years of age, would say, are the most profitable within the herd. So essentially the advice is to benchmark against the best, and any of you that are signed up to the ICBF Herd Plus system will have all these data available for your own herd and also for the best herds in the country. So again, use those figures, we'll say, to see where you're at yourself and to benchmark against the better herds. In terms of replacement heifers, again, they're ideally the genetically best animals in the herd. The target, they should calve at 2 years of age. To get that, though, we need to achieve, we'll say, reasonably ambitious target growth rates. So essentially, when the calf is weaned from the cow, those heifers, we'll say, need to get preferential treatment to make sure that they're heavy enough, we'll say, at the start of the breeding season, and they're pubertal, cycling, and again can be bred at the start of the breeding season. And minimising dystocia, our advice would be that we should target those animals for AI and easy calving bulls to minimise difficult calvings. Moving on then to the cow after calving. I suppose the first and the critical issue for a suckler cow is the length of time or the interval between when she calves and she has her first heat or when she's eligible for breeding. And we call this the postpartum interval. And the two main things that affect that is the bond of the cow with the calf, which is unlike the situation with dairy cows, and the condition score of the cow at calving. And if we look at the first of here, some work here by my colleague Michael Diskin will say in Teagasc in Athenry would show clearly that if we can break the bond, even temporarily, we'll say, when the cow is calved about 30 days or so, that within about 2 weeks, 85 to 90% of cows will be cycling. So that's a dramatic, we'll say, shortening potential, we'll say, of that postpartum interval. Okay? And again, it's particularly useful, we'll say, for first calving young cows, we'll say, and late calving cows that you want to try to shorten that interval. And again, very relevant in herds, we'll say, that have, that are early, either autumn calving, we'll say, or early spring calving, and that maybe have creep areas or paddocks beside the shed where calves can be let out for a period of the day. Okay? Body condition score of calving, again, absolutely critical in terms of calving the cow, in a moderate to good condition. Not over fat, but in a moderate good condition. And again, data from Athenry which clearly show that if cows will say they're a calf in moderate to good condition, that they will typically start cycling up to 2 to 3 weeks earlier, we'll say, than a cow that's thin at calving. Okay, so again, very important that the cow calves in a moderate to good condition. If she calves down thin, there's not an awful lot more we can do with her afterwards. Certainly, the condition score of calving has a much more greater impact on the length of time it takes that cow to come back cycling than, you know, the nutrition of the cow after calving. Okay, so again, the targets again for mature cows at calving would be about 2.5. Okay, so moderate. We have a stand and the fertility village, would say, further along the circuit here, that goes into great detail in terms of how to condition score cows. We have a live demonstration also. For first and second calvers, we'd like to see them calve in slightly better condition again, because they're still growing, we'll say, and they're young animals. Finally then, just to move on to the breeding season, for those herds, I would say there's a role for AI in every herd, and particularly now with the BDGP in terms of the focus on trying to breed high quality maternal heifers, high genetic heifers as replacements in the herd, that there's a role for AI in every herd. Okay? Heat detection, if you are using AI, is absolutely critical, and that's where most herds fall down, you know, in it, that they don't allot enough time in the day, would say, to watch their cows, would say, for the signs of heat, and to know the signs of heat are critical as well. Synchronization or timed AI is something we've done a lot of work on, would say, with a large number of herds around the country, and for farms that where maybe off-farm employment, will say, they haven't the time for heat detection, it is something very worthwhile, and it allows you to breed a high proportion of your herd early in the season. Again, we have a stand in the breeding village, will say, that covers this in great detail, and I would advise people to speak with the personnel there. Steady plain nutrition, would say, during the breeding season, absolutely essential. It can happen during periods of poor weather, poor growth, or through bad grassland management. We know that it can have major effects on the cow after in the early part of the breeding season if she experiences fluctuations in energy supply. Stock bull fertility, finally, very important. The vast majority of calves in Ireland are born from stock bulls. 4 out of 5 calves were born sired by stock bulls. But we know that up to 1 in 20 can be totally infertile, even bulls that were fertile previously. And more worryingly, that 1 in 4 can be subfertile for a period of the breeding season. And it's very important that we, particularly for young bulls, that we assess their ability to mate, we'll say, and we also watch those, particularly the first cows that they mate, to make sure that those are in calf. And our advice would be to get those first cows, we'll say, that are bulled, scanned after 30 days, we'll say, to make sure that the bull is achieving acceptable pregnancy rates. So the message really is, with the bull, to minimise risk, check for mating ability, record those cows, we'll say, that are mated, particularly the early cows, and make sure, we'll say, that the cows are actually becoming pregnant from that bull.